Now we're going to talk about the 6 basic questions for estate planning. No professional person should tell you what to do with your property. That's your decision, right? They can tell you how you can do what you want to do. So here's the 6 basic questions. If you answer these, you'll be way down the road towards an estate plan. What do I own? What is it that you own? All of it, right? Not only farm assets, but do you have other assets that you own? Do you have another business that you're operating that's not necessarily related to the farm business? Do you hold any patents or copyrights? I talked with a farmer one time, he had a copyright that he owned for a whole record-keeping system. I mean, so you have to think about, what is it that I own? What's it worth? Not what you want it to be worth, but what's the fair market value of it? Because that's what's it worth, right? Fair market value is what a ready, willing, and able buyer would pay to a ready, willing, and able seller when neither buyer or seller were compelled to buy or sell. It's that arm's length transaction, right? That's what it's worth. How do I own it? Do you own it as joint tenants with rights of survivorship? Do you own it as sole owner? Do you own it as a common tenant? You will hear the expression, it's still in the estate. No, the estate was closed. It just means that you are in common ownership with some other people, right? Or if you've formed a business entity and maybe you put the land into a corporation, you don't own the land. The corporation owns the land. You own the stock, right? So you can't give the land to anybody. You can give the stock, right? So how is it that how do you own it? Who do you want to have it? Who do you want to give it to? Do you want to give it to your children, grandchildren? Bald lawyers who live in Minburn, Iowa, see me after that, I'll give you my card. Who do you want to give it to? When do you want them to get it? Right? And how do you want them to own it? Now I will tell you something, that every attorney, that your estate planning attorney, is going to start out with the assumption that you're there to avoid paying any kind of tax at all. That's where the mindset they have. I have a young colleague, a young woman who now practices law in Virginia. She worked for me for 2 years at the Beginning Farmers Center. Most of the student attorneys who work there, law students who work there, for about a year afterwards they call me for a lot of information. Then they finally realize that they know more about it than I do, so they quit calling. And she told me about a fellow an older couple came into her office, and she said she brought their records in. There was about $8 million. She said, I immediately went into, this has been 5, 7, 8 years ago when state tax law was different. Said I immediately went into the tax saving mode and was talking to him about all these things, and finally the older gentleman said, Miss, he said, I have terminal cancer, I'm going to die very shortly. He said, I'm not afraid of dying, I'm a person of faith. We never had children. We've got some nieces and nephews we'd like to give some things to, some money to. We've got some charities that we'd like to give some money to. I don't care what the taxes are. The only thing I want is for her to have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. We just want a couple of simple wills. That's what they wanted, right? No attorney should impose their value system on you, right? If that's what you want to do, that's what you should do. Now, they should help you understand what the consequences are for those decisions that you make, but it's your decision.